Good Sunday early afternoon to you. Well, this is going to be part one of the PHILCO 3812 radio, which I picked up at Jewett City Flea Market. Actually, Bob picked it up for me. He insisted on buying it. It was only a $5. The guy wanted $5 for it. And I was going to pick it up last week, and I said, I didn't feel like it, not because of the money, because I really didn't have the room for it. Let's take a look at it. I got the cabinet on the bench right now. You saw the radio when we got back from the Jewett City Flea Market. Now, as it stands now, Tommy's putting that video together. So naturally, you're going to see you would have seen, I should say, the Jewett City Flea Market for today already up here. And this one you're watching now came after that. So this is going to be the start of part one of the 3812 PHILCO. I'm going to basically go over it, see what it needs, and may start some of the restoration on it today. The tubes have to be tested, of course, and any tubes that it needs I'll have to go and get. Okay, so here we are. Let's take a look. PHILCO 3812, the tube layout here. It looks like it uses 6A7, a 78, 75, 84, and a 41. If I can see that good. Can't really read that. Let me just see what that says there. No, that's just the number 10302. Okay. The bottom has come off the base has come off the radio. Now, I saw this last week up at Jewett City. Fortunately, the vendor was there today. Bob was already there. Bob gets there very, very early. Tommy and I don't get there until about 8:15, because by the time Tommy gets up, I get ready and we eat and everything else. By the time we get up there, that's about the time we arrive. So Bob had already purchased this for me. The guy wanted $5 for it. And all week I've been thinking, geez, you know, I should have bought this radio. My thinking is, where am I going to put it? You know, it's like everything else I got no room for it. Not that big. It's smaller than the radio I repaired for Bob. And Bob didn't have last week when he picked up the radio. I told him I was going to give him a camera, which I did last week, because he didn't have one to take photos in case he wants to sell something on Craigslist or eBay or whatever. Although we don't sell radios that I repair. He has a radio room and he collects them. Does not sell them, but other items. He needs a camera he can take photos. So I said, well, I've got a Casio with 3 extra batteries. And I gave him that because it's 7 megapixels. It's good enough for photos. Do a good job. It does very good close-ups. I'm not using it. He wanted to buy it. I said, no, you're not buying it, Bob. It's an extra camera I had kicking around. It does good photos. So we insisted on buying this because I had to open my mouth and say, well, I should have bought that little radio up there I was looking at from so-and-so vendor that I saw up there. And the reason I didn't buy it is I didn't have the room. I would need knobs. I would need a grill cloth. I have no idea where to get this stuff. I guess you can get it on eBay, or there are places you can get this stuff for it. And when it comes to cabinet refinishing, I'm no good at it. So we used to use, years ago, we used to use that Old English stuff, that like shoe polish called Old English. And that's what I used to put on these cabinets. So let's take a look at the radio. Make a little room here. You can see I don't have the room. And where am I going to put it when I get it done? All right. Hang on a minute. Well, you can see, I think it needs a cord. Do you think it needs a cord, or should I just tape that up? The vintage plug. A real old vintage plug. Line connected set, so it would need a polarized cord, which you're not going to get a cloth covered polarized cord. Let's see if I can tip this without breaking it. Speaker looks like it's in good shape. Might be a little voice coil rub, but not bad. Upper left-hand corner of that gold face on there, probably could put a little Scotch tape on there or something. And part of this is all dug out over there. The plexiglass is still in the cabinet over there. So you can see the base. The cabinet just needs to be glued to the base, or the base needs to be glued to the cabinet, whichever way you look at it. It looks like a double wood base on it. Looks like two layers. See the light one and the dark one down there. On the back, PHILCO. Oh, the first thing you want to do is cut this off. I'm not sure if it needs a loop stick. Bob had pointed out that probably is missing a loop coil. The only loop coil I got here is a Zenith, come off of a Zenith, All-American 5. That would probably work. You have to cut down the press board over here to get it to fit the cabinet, because it's a little longer than the cabinet, so we'd cut it down, and that might do it. It's the only one I've got. So wet electrolytic. These are the old kind with the, they call wet electrolytics. Cosmetically, we leave them on the top of the chassis and we do all our stuff underneath. Power transformer, so we don't need to worry about a polarized line cord. So it needs a good cleaning. So let's snip off this cord and get started on it. Take a look at it anyways. We're not going to do anything today. Maybe you got a lot of cleaning up to do. Now let's check the underneath the chassis here. Alright, there's not very much to it. We need a good cleaning, so we got to get the brush out, bring it outside, and I'm going to clean it all. I'll do that off camera. There's plenty of room to add the electrolytics underneath the chassis. Before we do that, I want to see if I can get a schematic for this. I'm estimating this is probably a 1940 or thereabouts. So, all right, I got it glued. Some tight bond, original wood glue. This is real good stuff. And I have to keep an eye on it because I put it on heavy, but I have to make sure I don't squeeze out. I wiped a lot of it off. There's like a ridge here, you know, the veneer overhangs. That's why it looked like there's a double amount of wood. Well, that's where the it's actually one piece of wood, but one part was lighter than the other, and the lighter part was where it was glued. So if we look inside here, we just keep an eye on it to make sure it's not going to run down too much. Keep an eye on it. Got a damp cloth here, and yeah. Okay, that's drying up in there. You won't see that too much. Anyways, I'm certainly not a cabinet man, but definitely can fix this, keep it from falling apart here. And the plexiglass is flat. I think it's plexiglass. We'll clean that later. And I'll just make sure. Yeah, nothing's running down. It's pretty well settled out now. What I did is I put the glue on the cabinet here, and then I put the glue, another coat on the base. It's even got the little feet on it with a tiny bit of felt on each one. It's 3 1/4-inch bolts that go in here, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, we'll go into the shop now. Took out all the tubes very carefully. They were very tight in there. And took my little brush and cleaned it up. And took a damp rag and wiped all around as much as I can. This is a tube shield that is the 1/4-inch bolt that holds it in. This hugs this tube right here. You can see where the heat, you know. So that's a shield. It's the only one that's shielded right here. So we got everything cleaned up as much as I can. Now I have to spray this tuning capacitor and stuff and lubricate the ball bearings in here like I did with Bob's radio. And maybe I'll put a little Duco cement in here. I've got some, and get this stay in there. There's not much you can do about it. And I can get some gold paint, I guess gold model paint, and just go over that if it shows in the dial. And the dial cord works. That's good news. I don't know how long it'll work. Too bad. Actually, the speaker's pretty good. Oh, we got a little bit of edging here on the cone, and we got a glue. We'll put some Duco cement in there. Yeah. This speaker here doesn't have any mounting holes drilled in it, so I can't put the cardboard over to protect it. Because, like most of you guys out there, if a finger can go through a speaker, it will. Alright, I sprayed the tuning capacitor with CRC cleaner just to clean it out. Nothing's rubbing in there. So when that dries, I'll lubricate that. Let's flip it over here and see what we've got. Now, of course, we should test the power transformer for continuity, because if the power transformer is gone, we're dead in the water, as I said. But let's just find out one thing at a time here. Okay, upon oiling the where are my ball bearings here, I noticed this was pinched. This is the dial-light wire. It was pinched. See that dark area there? It was pinched into the tuning capacitor. So we're going to have to put something on that and get that out of the way. I have to slip some, maybe put a little piece of tape on it, or unsolder it from here and slide a piece of heat shrink on it. And that wasn't anything I did, obviously, because I haven't powered this thing up. So the rectifier tube is here. This is a 42, I think. 41 or 42, I can't see that. But the elements here, they look like a rectifier. Yeah, that's a rectifier tube. And without looking at the cabinet, which I don't want to disturb it now, what I should do is test all these tubes, get my big tube tester out. My either the Knight 600 or the Radio City Products tester, and test these tubes here. The bulb, I'm not sure what it uses. This tube is a 75. So that's the one that was in the shield. And stop guessing, we'll look at the tube chart, because the number's probably on the other side. And I was outside, I didn't have my magnifier out there when I cleaned these tubes off. So let's see what we've got for electrolytic. It looks like 12 microfarads, 450 volts. And volume control don't sound too good. I put a little 3-in-1 oil right in here. Very little. But there's no holes in the volume control for the deoxit, but we're going to try to get it in various places here. Okay, I got it in. So it's almost perfect, not completely. Have to drill a hole in the control in order to, it's a little bit saturated, but I was trying to get it in. It's kind of a sealed control, and even the leads, the lugs coming through there, there's no opening like a lot of them are open. This radio don't have the knobs, so I don't have any knobs. I had a whole box of knobs for radios throughout the years in my other shop. That's gone, of course. Alright. I took out the 2 micromoles. One was on each side of the line, across the line. So we left the pigtail on there. So we'll put our meter on, because we can do a better connection that way. Let's see if I can get the lead to stay without shorting into the chassis here. Alright, now we're getting 29 ohms. Turn the switch off, over limit, in other words infinite reading. Alright, we're getting 15 ohms now. It could be the switch. Let's I don't trust it. When I hold leads on, they never make good connection, so I always put my meter on little pigtails and clip leads. Alright, so now we got 15.8 ohms. I took the rectifier tube out. The rectifier is an 84. Right here. So I took off the capacitor, so what I can do is to put this through the dim bulb, see if the tube's light. If the tube's light, then the primary of the power transformer is good, and the secondary without the rectifier isn't going to cause any problem. So let's turn this switch off. Let's put it on. 15.8. Put it on again. 15.8. So the switch is good. And 15.8. I think the power transformer is probably good. I would think there'd be a little lower reading on that, but not necessarily. I think you get a lower DC resistance on a heavy-duty power supply, like if you were checking like a battery charger and you were putting your ohm meter across the primary leads that would plug into your 120 volts, you would probably get a lower DC resistance. But this is a radio, so it'd be different. Alright, we're going to shut that off. Shut the meter off, that is. Alright. We're going to plug it into the dim bulb. See if that's going to reach. Alright. Now, we're not putting full power on yet. We're still running through the dim bulb. In other words, I didn't flip the bypass, bulb bypass yet on. And tubes are lit. Okay. So that tells us the primary of the power transformer is good. There's a good chance that the secondary is good. But we're not about to put the rectifier in yet because we got to change the filter capacitors and we got to get these wax caps out of here. The most important thing is the electrolytics have got to be changed. A 12 microfarad could probably be a 22. We don't want to put a 10 in there. That's too low. You want to go at least what was in there. Maybe they have a 16. I don't think I have one, but one thing at a time. The tubes are lit. Put the bypass on. They got the lights off in the shop. I don't see any light on this tube. There's a light down here on that one. So I think that's the 75. I don't see a light on that, but there is a light here, filament. Okay, we take off the power. Dim bulb is unplugged. We're going to cut out these mica mold. We'll use these pigtails to hook and pinch the line safety caps, which by the way have very short leads on them, so you got to leave these pigtails on there. So basically each one is going across the line, and I got to see what the value is on these things. And what I'm going to do is look at the schematic. When I get it, I got to go online and get that. This is basically just an examination of the radio, but it is part one. And alright, let's see, 84/OZ4, okay, full wave high vacuum rectifier. Alright, that's what I thought. 6.3 volts. Filament amp, 500 mils. Maximum plate voltage per plate, 325 volts. Max DC output, 60 mils. Peak current per plate, 180 milliamperes. Peak inverse voltage, 1250 volts. Alright, and the basing, base configuration 5D. This is one of the two manuals I got off of eBay. 5D. Alright, 5A. 5D, there it is. Alright, 1 and 5 is the filament. That should be the large pins, of course. 2 and 3 of the plate. Alright, so. Oh, good. No more drippage. Okay, we're going to leave this until the sun goes down, and I'll bring it into the shop. The glue is, the whiteness disappeared, which is good. So we'll just leave it there. This concludes part 1 of, I have to write everything down, the PHILCO. Oh man. Can't even read my own, I can't even find it. 3812. If I don't write things down, I can't remember them. So that's end of part 1, which is basically just a checkup. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned for part 2, which will come up before you know it.